My God, we're in my apartment! Like from the show, remember when I had the... Today, my guest is Dylan, and what better car to pick him up in than a 2003 Pontiac Grand Am with a cracked engine block? This is Comedians in Cars Getting Coffee. Oh wait guys, we haven't yet described the rules of the multiverse travel and the repercussions it could have on the world as we know it. Okay, the first thing you need to know is we got here by reading from the tomb in the ancient ruins of Zatharoka. Have we been desensitized to conventional storytelling? With the recent praise of the movie Everything Everywhere All at Once, it's been allowing viewers to step outside their comfort zone when it comes to how they consume a story. It can be a hard thing to swallow, as we're pretty well taught that a story is supposed to have this strict-ish storytelling structure of a beginning, climax, an end, that sort of thing. But it's sort of all changed now. But now the movies tend to be more of a challenge proposed by the writers for the audience to solve. For example, if you were watching this video and another me happened to stroll on screen and I paid no attention to it without even giving it a passing glance, you'd be a little confused. But how confused would you be now if I walked through a portal and the me that walked in took over as if nothing had ever happened? If I never answered this question, it would be up to you, the viewer, to decipher what's going on in the story. You would end up looking up a YouTube video that was like, what happened to the Pikachu shirt guy from the latest Dylan video? And it would be a guy sitting at his computer explaining to you that using context clues and in-depth analysis, he has deciphered that the Pikachu shirt guy traveled back to the beginning of the video in which the Jerry Seinfeld stuff happened, making everything canonical to the story and wasn't fiction at all and it was actually happening and Nonetheless, this is why non-linear storytelling works. It allows the viewer to sort of enter the narrative as a third-party interpreter. I know it might not make sense, but it's gonna. It allows them to enjoy the story or movie after it is already over. I wonder if there's a huge media conglomerate that works off this same very premise. Yeah, the Marvel Cinematic Universe is insane. It started off so tame with movies like Iron Man, Captain America, and Thor. Iron Man 2 as well was also part of that first go, and I think the Hulk. They had their own self-contained stories that told you a beginning, middle, and end, with a payoff at the end of each movie, setting up a story and teaching you this is what you need to care about. And then they made a little movie called The Avengers, which took all of these characters that you knew and said, they're all in one movie now with all of the previous movies' stories as backgrounds for why these characters do what they do. And their motivations push them forward to defeat a common goal, which was alluded at in this movie. It all ties into each other and finishes up great with the sort of cap off in the story. They beat the bad. Tony Stark goes woo into space and comes and shoots it and boom. But it's alluding at a bigger threat. So they're like, well, we got to make more movies. And they do really well for a while, sort of all the next phase of movies. That's the thing, they're phases of stories. Are pretty much just sequels for all the characters leading up to where they are. Introducing new characters to a point, and then there's another big bad. And then it's like, ooh, all these characters are back again. It's sort of like every Avengers movie is like a family reunion for all of these characters, and it's like, cool. All these characters that I know are in one place interacting with each other. This is good. But this positive all changed when near the end of Phase 3, the Avengers lost. And need I mind you, this is like movies that are almost 10 years in the making of leading up this story into this big progressive thing. Thanos, who's the big villain of Avengers Infinity War, obtains all the stones. And with those stones, he can achieve his goal of snapping half of all living life out of existence. And he does that. And it's like, whoa! How are they gonna fix this? And they have 2 movies to fix this. Ant-Man and Marvel's Endgame. How they end up fixing everything is Paul Rudd, Ant-Man, becomes small when everyone is, or half of everyone is erased from the universe. And while he's small, he comes back and so much time has passed. And so he's like, whoa, time works differently when you're really small. And then it goes to the Avenger, and they're like, we can manipulate this time discrepancy and make time travel, and we can go back and fix everything. And then Tony Stark's like, yeah, I'll do this. Here's a Mobius strip to explain how time travel works. And I'm like, huh. But you know what? It works. For a time travel movie, the time travel that they explain works. You can't change anything in the past. So when they go back in time to grab the Infinity Stones, they have to then create a causality to go back in time and put them back as soon as they got rid of them.
What's going on with you? What are you talking about?
And it creates these rules, and they need to follow these rules, or else it doesn't make sense. And then in the end, they beat the bad guy, and a couple people die. But this created a problem in which they have established rules on how the universe works. Until they completely broke that in Phase 4. Every single piece of content they put out is like answers some questions, but then adds more questions. Like Loki is the time movie, the time show. They have shows now. It's a show, and they're like, you can't change the timeline because the sacred timeline is the sacred one. And then Loki says, I'm a good guy now, and I'm gonna change the timeline, and we're gonna break all of timelines, and there's multiple timelines. And so you're like, oh, cool. So they're gonna be traveling between different timelines now on the show. Hi, I'm Spider-Man, and I'm in my own movie now, and I want people to forget that Peter Parker Spider-Man, but by doing this, I open a multiversal wormhole, and more Spider-Mans come out, and different villains from the different shows, and it's multiverse travel, not timeline travel. And
Are you challenging me?
it's like, I just had enough of all of this. And it's too complex, and they're breaking their own rules to establish new rules, and now there's multiverse, not as like a creative story purpose like Everything Everywhere All at Once does, but instead a cop-out to break more rules in the universe and make money by saying, hey look, Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield are in your Spider-Man movie again. And you're like, it's like they had something so good going, and then they just go, what if everything is everywhere all at once? But not the movie. Bad story writing. That's enough about the MCU. You get the point. They're going kind of crazy, and I don't like it. But what's the point? I think that it's very important to look at the writers of these movies now, because some of them are doing a good job, and some of them got a chain around their throat that are forcing them to make money. And it's easy to tell them apart, But with the Multiverse movies coming out, don't feel overwhelmed by them, because if you watch a good enough movie, you'll figure it out. It's explained fairly well, and if not, you can watch a YouTube video explaining where did the other yellow me go. And then we got trapped in a time vortex. And that's why I've been immortalized as a bee.
It was all a dream.